Hey there, and welcome to the A.D.K Rock and Metal channel. I, of course, am Dave, and joining me today, I have Finnegan from the wonderful band Love Ghost. Welcome to the channel.
Hey, how's it going? It's an honor to be here, man. Excited.
It's great to have you. It's so are you over in what's it, LA at the moment?
I'm over in Los Angeles, going to Mexico City a lot for work purposes, actually, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I'm based in Los Angeles at the moment, and yeah, this is where I'm from. This is the city I grew up in, and yeah, LA is my home.
It's about what is it? Must be about mid 1 o'clock over there, is it?
It's about noon right now.
About noonish. Okay. Yes, it's always interesting when you do these interviews and you're trying to work out your timescales because it's not the easiest.
Where in the UK are you?
So we're all basically the guys on the channel. We're all based in a county called Hertfordshire, which is just north of London.
So I'm
We're
guessing
right on the outskirts of London.
right there. It's like 8 p.m. I'm guessing.
Yeah, just gone 8. So yeah, we're quite lucky in the UK. We have one time zone. We don't have to worry about different parts of like Mountain Time or Pacific Time or.
Yeah, I mean, America is ginormous, so there's like 4 time zones here. It's crazy.
I think yeah, you could fit most of the UK. I pretty much think you can get the whole of UK in one of your states easily.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, California.
Yeah.
California is like, this is, yeah,
It makes it a completely different type like scale of things when we talk about going to gigs, and we won't even travel to like the next city, which is like an hour's drive away, whereas in America you drive across states to go to gigs. It's a completely different logic
totally,
that we work on.
totally ball game. Totally different.
Right, let's kick into some questions. So obviously I want to kick in about the band. We're going to talk about it. So the band Love Ghost, I've got you down as that you formed back in 2013. But before I talk about the forming of the band and how it all came about, I need to know about the band name. And now I have read a little bit about
Yeah,
your love of life and death, but there's so many different ways that you could have put the names together. So why Love and why Ghost?
for sure. I mean, yeah, originally I think that, and I still do, but I just had a fascination with both death and love. And also just a lot of what the songs are about kind of having elements of either of a slight romantic feel or also an eerie kind of morbid feel. And I think that the word Love Ghost, it was actually one of the first songs I ever wrote was called Love Ghost. I think
Right.
that I was just kind of asking myself a lot of questions, and I think that I was kind of people, often question, is the afterlife real? Is ghost real? But then sometimes, I question, is love real? Is that so? It kind of like exists in the same kind of like dream like world for me as maybe someone else would perceive the afterlife or ghosts or something of that nature. And I just was kind of like looking at it written down on paper: love, death, love, ghost, and I was like, kind of would be a cool band name someday. I don't know,
Hmm.
love. I just like that. It's kind of just resonates with me for
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh, that's
And then
good.
yeah, and then so basically that's kind of how the name came to be. Really, it was just that philosophy of that of what just said. Yeah,
Yeah. And did the original lineup of the band was that formed at school? From my understand.
yeah. It was kind of like you know, I was young at the time. Obviously, I was in 8th grade when I first formed the band, and they were all kind of people that I had either met at school. This is a separate topic, but I was a kid that went to 3 different middle schools. I was kind of
Okay.
I was kind of a troublemaker, so I sort of just knew a lot of people. And then I also in particular would go to this after school music program where I also met other kids that were interested in music at the time too. So I kind of just sort of like arranged people from all these different like sections of my life, and really all I was thinking about was like, oh, I just want to play a show with a band, and
Hmm.
I'm just going to get these players together for this one show, and that's just going to be kind of like what's going to happen. And then so I played the show, and then the show went well, and then we played a second show, and now here we are 9 years later, but with different members, obviously, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, that's kind of the history of how the band came to be.
Because you've done a lot in the 9, 10 years, etc., that you've been together. You have done a hell of a lot. When I look at a lot of bands, we talk or interview several bands, and some of them have been together 4 or 5 years, and they've just dropped their first album after 5 years, and that was not the case for you guys.
Yeah.
You've done a lot. So I mean, I was going through, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the tracks, especially the with Dark Phoenix, which was the most recent album, which I was 19 tracks in an hour. That's a hell of an accomplishment, and we're going to come to that. But it's the eclectic mix of styles. So it's really interesting. Like if you go on your Wikipedia page, it calls it alt rock.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a bit of that in there. But there's also a huge amount of sort of trap beats in there. There's some emo in there. You can borrow from the hip hop genre. I mean, there are a few songs that I was listening to on the new album where I was like, I like Hollywood Undead. And I definitely got vibes of Hollywood Undead on parts. Not the sense of borrowing, but I could almost go, well, if you're a fan of Hollywood Undead, you're going to like Love Ghost as well. There is definitely some crossover appeal on those sort of bands.
Thank you. I love Hollywood Undead. I think they're super sick. I've been listening to them since I was a kid. But yeah, I think that definitely there is quite an amalgamation of different genres that I've always liked to experiment with, that I've loved to experiment with the band. There definitely is that trap influence. There's an industrial influence. There's certain songs that are super soft, certain songs that are super hard. It kind of like all it really boils down to is just that when I'm making music, I'm just trying to articulate as well as I can what I feel. And sometimes I might feel more, I don't know, more angry, more hard, maybe more slightly more trap-esque, and sometimes maybe I feel more sensitive and I kind of want to go in that direction. And that's kind of really just as far as, and then also I listen to a lot of different music. Like it's kind of like Hollywood Undead is a good example, or Linkin Park or Deftones. It's kind of like you listen to their discographies and there's, certain songs that are entirely electronic, and there's certain songs that still have that live rock feel, and then there's songs that there's kind of meet in the middle. It's sort of, I kind of like the how much of a mystery it is to define. I was always kind of attracted to that.
Okay. And when you're writing these songs, do you sit there with the idea of the concept of the song or the topic of the song comes to mind, the feeling of the song comes to mind, and then you start trying to create the track? Or is it a case more of you're noodling away on some idea and a musical composition comes to mind, and then suddenly the idea of where that song emotionally is going to go, and then the concept of the lyrics and the title and comes later? Does it, or is it a mixture of all of those?
It's a bit of a mixture, but usually when I write, I try to put myself into a sort of state of my subconscious in a way, like a dreamlike state where I'm basically, it just kind of feels like the music is flowing out of me and I can't really fight it. Even like Jack White said in an interview, he said, you have to let God into the room. And I'm not even a huge Jack White fan, even though I do really respect him, really like him. But I kind of feel a similar way when I'm creating music. It's, you're letting something else kind of take over you. Like there's a lot of artists that I admire that also kind of did similar things, such as Kurt Cobain or David Bowie, where they were kind of getting to this place where, they were really tired, and like it was almost like their subconscious was kind of just saying things and writing things like for them, and it wasn't even, maybe at first it doesn't even necessarily make sense, but and then that's kind of the state of mind that I like to also put myself in when I'm being creative. It's almost this X factor, like it's this dreamlike state where you're sort of sure what you're doing, but you're also sort of not sure what you're doing at the same time. And you're kind of just experimenting, for lack of a better term.
Because I've noticed you do a lot of, well, I've seen quite a few kind of crossovers or collaborations where you've worked with different artists. Now, again, are these where you've written songs and you've gone, do you know what, this would work brilliantly as a collaboration, let me reach out to this person to come and work on it? Or is it a case that someone said about doing a collaboration and you've written a song with that already in mind, gone, I need to write something that would work for this person with us? How does this work with these collaborations?
Yeah, I mean, each one is different. I've definitely done the thing before where I've written a song as an open verse on it, and we've sent it to an artist before, and I've also done the thing too where maybe I'll meet an artist. Like for instance, one of our songs that just came out in May, like 2 or 3 months ago. It's called Veneno, which is Spanish for venom. I met Blanco, who's the collaborative artist on that. I met him at a party, and we kind of just hung out together the next day and then wrote and recorded that song. But then also, like I said too, I've also had the reverse, like a song like Bloody Mary, where we sent that song to Alexis and she put her verse on it. Both are kind of really just, yeah, it just depends.
Because then when I was going back through your musical history of the sort of the different tracks and so forth through Spotify, the joy of Spotify does help when you want to go back through history. I came across obviously the most recent release and I was listening to it, and I was just, when it opened up and I saw 19 tracks. Now most bands when they're putting an album out will be thinking 8, 10, maybe 12 tracks at a push, but 19 and in 1 hour. Was there a temptation at some point just to kind of go, let's just split this down, this is 2 albums worth of material, let's just drop half of it now and then we can drop another one in 6 to 8 months time, and we'll split this as part 1, part 2, get ourselves a double release? Why do 19 tracks? Was this a case of all these songs make sense that they have to go together, or what was the reasoning behind it?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much they're just, all these songs had already been done. A lot of them had already been released as singles in years prior, and I was kind of like, all these songs make sense together. Why not group them together as a project and put them on streaming services? And that's exactly what Dark Phoenix was. And I was kind of going through a period of my time of a lot of like rebirth and finding myself, but also feeling angry at, I don't know, just at certain experiences in my life. So I was like, oh, what if there was like a darker version of a Phoenix, like kind of like a slightly angrier, like a anti-hero Phoenix? And that's kind of what Dark Phoenix is.
Okay. So is this like a full stop point in this sort of music? You want to kind of say, right, well, that's the end of that chapter. Now I want to be able to move forward from this. I don't want this sort of stuff following, well, not necessarily following, but you want to be able to move forward and not have those songs hanging around. And
yeah, I definitely think so. Yeah, like that was also right before I went to Mexico. I made 25 songs when I was in Mexico, and then also I was writing another album on the side here in LA, and then I'm also about to start production on the album with Scold as well, with Tim Scold. So it's I think that it was definitely a time for, like a new age, a new era, a new chapter, and whether I was, and creatively I just wanted to go to that next place, whatever it may be.
Because before we started filming, you mentioned about you were doing some work on, was it a movie?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about what this is about then?
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's a horror movie. It's called Kirsten Baja. It's a chupacabra slasher thriller horror movie. It's directed by Jeff Daniel Phillips, who is in all the Rob Zombie movies. He was Herman Munster in the latest Monsters remake. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm not going to share too much about it. But yeah, it was dope, and it comes out soon, and yeah, can't wait for it.
Because movies is definitely something you're very good at, in the sense that I've never seen a band have so many music videos. I was really, really surprised. I do videography, so I was grateful for the fact of being able to see this many videos, because bands nowadays seem to just put one video out off of an album and then move on. And I came to your website and found 30 videos and went, bloody hell, they've been busy. And my first thought before I even watched all of them was like, oh, well, there's going to be lyric videos and there's going to be kind of the usual black screen, simple videos. They've just done multiple videos, wrapped them all out. But there was so much variation and so much distinction between the videos. And there was obviously a huge amount of time and effort, plus multiple locations put in it. So what was the reason for doing so many videos? Because it's unusual because of the cost elements of just doing videos is not exactly cheap. So why go down the route of doing that many videos?
Yeah. Honestly, it's just I love visual storytelling. I love when I was a young kid, my dad was a film collector, and he just probably had, I don't know, thousands of DVDs, and I would just be kind of like left alone, and I would just plop in each after the next, after the next, after the next, and just watch all these movies on end. And I kind of just I don't know, I think it definitely like affected me a lot, and it was just like, oh, I just really like this, like I want to do something like this when I get older. I want to, and that's kind of, I guess that's the reason why I just like just I guess I just love visual storytelling, I guess. Yeah,
it's true. A lot of people learn in different ways or appreciate things in different ways. Some do it visually, some do it auditory. So I completely agree, and I love the fact there was story elements. It's not just a performance video in all the cases. So I love those. If someone who had never heard you before, this is always a difficult question, but if you were to give them one song off of one of your music videos, that would be the best one for them to get a true idea about you as a band, what would be the video that you would tell band or people to go and check out?
I would say either Fade Away or honestly Payback, the new song. But I'd say Fade Away. It's a straight up, pretty straightforward, full rock band music video. I also just am really proud of that song and the writing in that. And yeah, I'd say check out Fade Away first.
Since the band's been together, so back in 2013 forming, so you've always had streaming as been the main way to release music.
Yes,
I would guess. So you've not had the hassle of the printing multiple millions of copies of thousands of CDs and that route. So what has, for someone like me who did the CD route when I was touring and gigging and did all that and never really did the streaming because my band fell apart around 2013, so actually it was kind of right at that point where we never got into it. What has it meant to you as a new artist to have that access to streaming? What are the benefits of it for you, and what I guess are the negatives of it for you?
There's a lot of benefits to streaming, and there also is negatives as well. One of the benefits is that there's no real gatekeepers anymore in music industry. Anyone with a phone can kind of just make a song and put it out there, put it up on TikTok, and it can go viral for better, for worse. And that's something that's really exciting, I think, as about being in the streaming age. Like sometimes when I look at some of my songs that have 2 million streams, or my videos that have 2 million views or 1 million, I definitely like it. It's really exciting to see those numbers. It's really cool, and I don't know if I would have those same numbers if I was still working with CDs. I guess the only downside to it is that it's so oversaturated. I think that the numbers are 50,000 a day, 50,000 releases every day. It's kind of like you sort of just feel like you're a fish in an ocean. How can you stand out in all this mess? So it's, like I said, it's good in the sense that I feel like there's honestly more opportunity for artists nowadays. There's more exposure, more reach, but there is also an oversaturated competitive market. And then also there's like the obvious thing too, where artists talk about how it's a lot harder to make money in the streaming age, which is a problem. But yeah.
It is. It's because we were talking about this on the channel. We've talked about streaming, and we also talked about, someone was asking me about YouTube, and they were like, "We dropped a video the other day, and we've had hardly any views on it." And I said, "Did you know that it's 5.1 million YouTube videos get uploaded every day?" I went, "That's what we're up against." I said, "We've got to fight against 5.1 million videos every day to try and get noticed." And I said, "It's a very, very tricky element. You work with the algorithm, and it's the same on the streaming. It's with bands now, because before I go on to like that, but with your recording, how much of that is in house? Do you do a lot of the recording in house? Do you go to external studio, or is it all done with yourselves?
Pretty much we do it all in house. Daniel and Corey are both really, really talented audio engineers. That's the guitar player and keyboard player in the band. They completely know how to use Pro Tools inside and out. Same with Ableton. I'm an okay audio engineer personally. I'm more like a songwriter guy. That's kind of my expertise. But it's pretty much not everything is in-house, but there's certain songs that are not. Obviously, like when I went down to Mexico and I'm collaborating with all those different artists, that was, I was working with artists and producers down in Mexico, Mexican studios. But I'd say like everything on Dark Phoenix was made in-house, was recorded at so we definitely, I'd say like most of our output is just DIY, is just in-house.
So if there was so I was talking to another band the other day, and they basically stopped playing in, it would have been around 2012, 2013 they finished, and they've recently come back into the scene. Now the music industry has changed in 10 years. So these are bands that are used to doing CD sales, and obviously the main thing for them would have been the Metal Hammer magazine or Kerrang magazine over here. So it was physical printed press, it was physical CDs. What would you recommend for bands like this that maybe have not had to work within the social media platforms before? What would be your kind of top 3 tips for some of the older bands, seasoned bands that are coming back into the industry nowadays? What would you recommend for them?
Get hustling. Just make as much videos and pictures as you can. And as far as like making content, instead of following trends, which I think is good to do, just to have like your kind of finger on the pulse, just make content that you personally think is cool, that you personally are attracted to. Because so many times on Instagram, I'll just be scrolling through my feed and I'll see just like a cool visual, and I won't even really think about it, but I'll just like it. I'm not even really paying attention to what music is in the background. And I think if you can just create something like that that you personally think is really sick, then other people are also going to think that's really cool and gravitate towards it. And then also like another thing too is it's kind of in a similar way to what music has always been. It's all about building a community, that's really what a fan base is, right? You're building like this ecosystem, this community of people interested in what you're doing, that are interested in the music that you make, interested about you. So I would just say interact with that community as much as you can. Like there's a long time where I was I still am. I'm very responsive to all my YouTube comments. I always respond back. I try to my Instagram, TikTok. I kind of just let run wild a little bit, especially just I don't know, that's just what TikTok is like to me. But yeah, those would be my 3 advice to someone looking to for lack of a better term, establish themselves in a digital age. Would be create as much content as you can. create content that you personally think is cool, as opposed to noticing what's working for other people. Because that's another thing too that I had to learn was just because something is working for someone down the river doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. So you have to figure out, okay, what can work over here. And then third, like I said, the community that you're building, interact with as much as possible, show love back, stuff like that.
Okay. So, last question then for me is, what's the plans that you've got going forward for Love Ghost at the moment?
Honest, the Tim Skold album, Love Ghost X Skold, is working on an album. It's going to be distributed by Metropolis Records. I'm super excited about it. And yeah, that's probably obviously we're right now we're in the process of releasing all the music from Mexico. Actually, just this morning we dropped a song and a video called Glock. You can check it out on the YouTube
Yes.
channel and Spotify. Pretty excited. It's a collaboration with Dan Garcia, who's an artist in Mexico. But yeah, I'd say we have a lot of music coming. We a lot of videos coming. So it's just I'm pretty much right now we're releasing a song every 2 to 3 weeks, I'd say, give or take. And then we have a couple of albums also in the vault too. So I feel excited, I feel locked and loaded.
That is awesome. I just want to say a massive thank you then for taking some time to talk to me today. Everyone go check out some Love Ghost. And of course, obviously the new collaboration one that you're working with Sculpt. And just a big thank you for taking some time talking to me today.
Thank you so much for having me on the channel. I really, really appreciate it.